got a Bachelor of Commerce in Management Information Systems. That's from Leicester University, which I completed in 2012, and a Master's in IT, which I completed in 2015 from Strathmore University. And then presently I'm a lecturer of business analytics at USIUA, that's USIU in Africa, Nairobi, Kenya. I also teach at IC International Christian Church Kitengela as also a teens teacher, and I have a PhD in Information Systems from UK SEDEN, that's in South Africa. So before we start, when we for example, delve into today's topic, so let's just use the different reactions within the chat and just want to ask a question. Raise your hand if, for example, you have ever volunteered for any community or, for example, a charitable organization. So just raise your hand. Joyce Minor, good. Good. Asia, who else? Good. Abdullah, you've never volunteered anywhere at all? Betty, that is nice. Thank you also, Moses. Now the next thing, raise your hand if, for example, we can now lower our hands. Thank you. Now raise your hand if, for example, you've ever won any award for something you've accomplished, that they've actually recognized you and say, for example, kudos for winning this award. Okay, Joyce again, thank you. Betty, thank you. Nelly Jane, awesome. And then also Joe, Mark, awesome. Now, another thing, so we can all lower our hands now. Good. Now, and then lastly, first, raise your hand if, for example, you're just an Arsenal fan. I would like to know who is an Arsenal fan here. Mr. Moses, okay. Moses, okay. So Moses, how has it been being trophyless for the last 10 years? Just give us from your own point of view. Moses?
You can hear me?
Yes, you can hear you. So tell us.
How has it been an Arsenal fan?
No, being trophyless for the last 10 years.
No. We are just, we feel like we are the Israelites we are just going through the desert right now.
Okay.
But this coming season, we are just about, with the signings we've just made, we are about to just, to clean it. And we want to make it clear, we are not trophyless. We have an FA Cup, a few FA Cups in there. It's just the Premier League that has refused slightly, but we are coming.
Okay, thank you. Any Chelsea fan? Okay, thank you. Any Chelsea fan? I would like to acknowledge you in the house. Okay, that's Mark. So thank you. And then yeah. So lastly, raise your hand. For example, if you have a hidden talent that no one even knows about, even for example, even your spouse, then you can tell us here. Then it will no longer be hidden. Anyone? So all of us have no hidden talents. Okay, interesting. Okay, so let's now move to today's discussion. So basically, we are trying to be able to delve into, for example, developing a researcher's mind in the age of AI. 5 years ago, or even let's say, around 5 to 6 years ago, this term of AI or even artificial intelligence and even analytics was still a new thing or just a new a buzzword even within IT industry in general. But 5 years down the line, now we've been able to, AI now is part and parcel of actually everything presently, everything we do. So with this age of AI, how do we, for example, reason, or how do we, for example, maintain our objectivity and also creativity in the presence of these new technologies? So first we ask ourselves, for example, who is a researcher? So basically, whether you are doing research or not, we describe a researcher as someone actually who does the investigations, exploration, or even analysis with an intention of actually broadening the knowledge and also understanding and even contributing to your field of study. So if, for example, you are in project management, when you do research or even do analysis and even exploration, that's how you now contribute to your field of study. And even what differentiates a researcher from any other person is that a researcher is able to publish or publish his or her own findings. If, for example, let's say for Moses who is in project management, you've done your research, you've gained your actually insights, but you do not, for example, publish that knowledge. So first, you are doing disservice to your field because you have not contributed in any way to your field of study, because you've done the studies, yes, you've done the research, yes, but you've not been able to share your insights to, for example, to the body of knowledge, so that other people can be able to learn. In fact, what I normally ask ourselves, for example, let's talk about, let's say, for example, people like, for example, who invented knife bias, or, for example, Isaac Newton. If they were not able to publish their findings, we will not even be able to learn from them today. Even those who invented, for example, AI, we will not be using them today if, for example, they did not publish or, for example, share their findings. So even for today, even as a researcher, what I actually try to even encourage people is, in each and every study or in each and every investigation you do, it's good that you are able to publish those results, so that you not only contribute to the field of study, and also so that the next generation can actually be able to learn from you. So here we are saying that the traditional process of research is just you go for data collection, you do your analysis, and then now you do your interpretation. But now, as we are in the era of big data, where there has been increase in terms of vast amounts of data are generated at higher speeds, even in different volumes and even in different structures, there has been a challenge in terms of this information overload, and how to even be able to analyze, and how to be able even to collect and be able to know, for example, which type of data is this, and how can we be able to analyze this. And also within the traditional process of research is that sometimes conclusions have been biased, because as individuals would actually want to influence research outcomes to their own advantage, thus compromising their objectivity. Then now came AI, where basically in AI we are talking about the use of computer systems or just machine learning tools and techniques to be able to perform, for example, tasks that require, for example, human intelligence. In this, if, for example, these days, even within your phone, if, for example, you are able to maybe browse either something related to football, or even something, maybe music, or just a product you want to buy, you'll be able to see that after a day or two, you'll be able to see various recommendations on the next product on the market, the next, for example, discount on the market, etc. So AI basically is able to replicate our cognitive abilities and even be able to recommend, for example, various products to us. So basically, that's one of the application of AI where it performs, for example, tasks that require human intelligence. And now, in terms of research, it has actually improved even the process of collecting data. Presently we've got various applications, like, for example, web scraping, where instead, even as a researcher, of going to the field, you can just go to social media and be able to scrap data, or even from Google Play Store, etc. Now, so the next thing we are going to mention is, with this advent of AI, there are also different benefits, even in terms of research aspect. So first, it actually enhances the accuracy of even our various research outcomes. The various tasks that were, for example, repetitive, and even, for example, time-consuming, we've been able to actually do that with AI, as we are able to automate them. Even for those who've done predictive analytics, or even in data analysis, these days, even in terms of data processing, it has become easy because we are just able to automate some of these aspects. And then the other thing is that AI has actually been able to facilitate collaborations within industry. We now see, for example, application of AI in healthcare. So in this place, we are able to see IT moving to healthcare to be able to complement whatever they are doing, but also improve whatever they are doing. We've also applications in finance, even in marketing. We're able even to segment customers based on marketing data, even in terms of human resource. In some companies, even these days, you can be able to be called to an interview, and then after an interview, you may be able to pass the interview, but even some organizations these days are actually incorporating the aspect of social media. That's to be able to complement the aspect of hiring process, so that at the end of the day, if you've been able, you are number one, you are maybe an organization like 7Net is hiring you to be their finance manager. And then after you've aced the interview, you are number one. But now scrubbing, for example, your social media behavior, they find maybe you are a serial gambler, or for example, you are even more politically opinionated. So most organizations actually made these days do not want people actually made politically opinionated or maybe just into gambling. So if they were, for example, now to hire you either, for example, as a finance manager, they will be able to think twice, because how would we hire you as a finance manager? Yes, your social media profile describes a serial gambler either in football, or even a serial, let's say, politically opinionated individual. This is common for organizations that actually depend on funding, maybe the funding from different quarters, and you'll find that organizations that actually depend for funding, they've got various standards that they have to adhere to, maybe as part of what their donors actually require. So that's how AI actually is able to complement and also collaborate with the various industry fields, just to be able to make some of the process better. Now, when it comes to research, when we talk about data-driven research, for those who finish their master's or even heading to their PhD, basically in this data-driven research is that where the emphasis is placed on for example, objective and quantifiable evidence, so that rather than just relying on your own assumption, or for example, on your own opinion, we are actually able to rely on evidence-based data. So with AI now, we are able to actually offer, for example, useful insights from actually our data, accelerate even discoveries, and then at least even improve our decision making. We've also talked about the importance of AI even in accelerating data collection. We've talked about social media data, even in terms of analysis. These days, you can even be able to you can be given a data, you can do various correlation of different variables, you can even do clustering, even classification. And then lastly is just we can be able to use AI even to be able to enhance decision making. Remember, even with predictive analytics, this is where now we try to use historical data so that we are better prepared, even in making, for example, informed decision. Even in finance, even in budgeting, we are able to use, for example, how did we perform last year? How were our sales last year? How was, for example, our student performance last year? How can we improve? All this now we can be able to actually do easily with actually AI. So now with that now in mind, how do we, for example, as individuals, be able to not only adopt but also embrace AI, and then now retain our still inquisitive and curious mind, so that actually we are not replaced. So the first item actually I'm mentioning is that we need, as individuals, even now going forward, we need to actually appreciate the intersection of our creativity and AI. AI has got its own strengths and limitations, but also as individuals, even as human minds, we've got our own strengths and also limitation. So as individuals, even as professionals, we have to be able to actually understand where is that intersection, where does AI stops, and where, for example, does my creativity stops. Because you'll find, for example, even there's been cases where people have built prediction models, but even on doing prediction, they'll be able to realize that, for example, these models actually are biased because maybe the data that was training. Because I was remembering a story where I read that some of the previous predictions done in the US, they were actually identifying, for example, every Black people as most likely, for example, to commit crime. So you'll be able to find that in such a case, such AI models have actually been trained to be biased based on, for example, race. So to be able to actually correct that is that we have to appreciate that while there is AI, there is also the aspect of creativity. So for every model we are churning out, if there's data analytics or data scientists, we need to be able to see, for example, is what this model generating actually the right thing. And then the other thing is actually to remain updated with AI developments. In fact, in the current world we are in now, if you don't actually keep up with the latest developments, you'll actually be left out. So to be able to stay informed, you have to follow credible sources, attend conferences, and even online forums like this one now for 7-8, so that just you can be able to be able to update it. What's happening in the industry? What is the new thing, and how can I be able to be able to act even within my profession? And then another thing is that these AI tools are good also, so we also have to be in a position to not only experiment them, but also just use them to be able to just complement what you do. So you can be able to, even if, for example, you are a music lover, you can be able to experiment, for example, how can AI be used in, for example, music composition. Aisha, your hand is up.
Yes, so in our quest to be curious or to develop a curious mind, is there a repository of all these tools yet? Because myself, I'm a sales and marketing professional, so there are specific AI tools that perhaps would be helpful. But then right now, I think there's a lot of information overload. Everyone is coming up saying they're an expert of AI. How do we know what to go for what, or where to go for what?
Exactly. So now how you are able actually to go for what or know what to do is first there is presently no repository, because everyone is developing its own tool. So how you are just able to get to know, for example, there's this new tool is by doing number 2, that's remaining updated with the latest developments, and now that experimenting. So if, for example, you are in, let's say, as you said, you are in marketing, so which means on daily basis, at least an hour you actually dedicate time just to be able to read on the latest trends within your field, as you'll be able to see later. So that first, to be able to know new tools, which one can you be able to use to not only help you, and also because, for example, some of these tools can be able to even replace, not necessarily replace us, but replace some of the tasks we are able to do. Let's say, for example, before where we are now, we didn't have calculators. Now we have calculators. We had typewriters. Now they no longer exist. So if, for example, you are trained to be actually that, for example, specialists in typewriting, when typewriting got obsolete in the market, where would you go? That's why it is good to, as I've said, remain updated, experiment with these tools even within your field. So if you are in marketing, if you are in transcription, read what are the new tools, because there will be, for example, new tools, but some of them actually, because it's actually a race, some of them actually may not be able to actually assist you, even, for example, as a marketer. But how do you know? There will also those ones which will be able to assist you, but how do you know? Is through remaining updated and also be able to experiment. Dr. Alex? Aisha, I hope I've been able to answer your question.
Yes, sir.
Engineer?
Yes, Mwalimu.
Yes.
Thank you very much for this very important subject. Has the AI analytic tool now been accepted in the academic field? You talked about PhDs and so on. The tool that is most used is SPSS. Is it possible today to use AI for academic purposes at PhD level?
Thank you. Yes, presently at PhD level, more so if, for example, your PhD is actually in IT or in computer science, most of the things we are able to do is using AI tools. Like, for example, even in my PhD, my focus actually was on personality prediction, now using fuzzy logic and also using various predictive analytic tools. So from, for example, natural processing, from, for example, sentiment analysis, etc. So in some sections of academia, academia, we even mostly in IT, we are already using AI tools, and it's actually growing. The only challenge now with academia is that most of the people doing research mostly in social science are still lacking behind in terms of, for example, embracing for example, these tools. Like, as you've mentioned, for example, SPSS within AI, there are a lot of tools that can actually do more than what SPSS does, even though some of the statisticians would not accept, but still there are some of the tools that can actually be able to do more than SPSS can do. Like, for example, even you can be able to do a lot with Python, a lot with JavaScript, a lot with R, a lot with for even for visualization, a lot, for example, with Tableau, predictions, for example, with NIME, etc. But now, so even within social science, those even who are actually in social science, it's actually time for you to be able to embrace AI, because even the thematic analysis and the coding of, for example, qualitative data, which you presently do, that can actually be done better, and even when you actually embrace, for example, some of these AI tools. Daniel?
Yeah, I was wondering what SPSS is.
Okay, yeah, SPSS is a statistical language we actually use in data analysis, mostly in, for example, social science, in just data analysis, the likes of regression, etc. It's just a statistical software in social science research.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, so we can proceed. The other things in developing, for example, that inquisitive mind is to be able to ask, for example, what if questions. So let's not just, for example, take things as they are. You should be able to challenge assumptions, explore possibilities, even in marketing. Remember, you are a domain, for example, Aisha, you are a domain expert within marketing. So you'll find that most of the tools, some of the tools, even AI tools in marketing, some of them have not been developed by actually marketing professionals. So as a domain expert, you should be in a position to be able to ask and even challenge those tools, so that now if you are, for example, to embrace them, you've been able to find out if they actually meet your expectation. And even as I talked earlier, in terms of, for example, collaboration, we can even within marketers, you can actually be able to collaborate with now the people who are developing various tools in AI, so that you can make them be able to be better even for marketing. Kenneth?
Thanks, Mursi, for giving me an opportunity to ask. Now, the AI models that are coming up vis-a-vis the traditional collection of data, does it mean in the near future, after a model has been created, then of course the model won't be static. I trust these models will be dynamic. So
Yes.
Does it mean all that will be done is just modify the models, then probably now the physical research that we used to do dies? Or will this research now remain only on these people or these organizations that are able to model AI tools?
Okay, thank you, Ken. So first, physical research will not die because, as I've said earlier, even as we'll be able to mention in a few, AI and human mind will still remain as complementing one another. However, AI cannot be able to say to, for example, become better if, for example, as humans or even the creators or developers cannot be able to improve, because it's us who actually be able to have that interpretation. So it's true now retraining of our model by, for example, providing, for example, more data. Because even, for example, even if, for example, we are doing web scraping, it's at the end of the day, it's you as an individual or the owner of the AI tool to be actually direct, for example, scrap for me more data, more data, for example, on Twitter or on, for example, Facebook. So AI and humans will still continue to exist, but exist so that to exist to be able to make better for each other. For example, even in terms of finance, for those in finance, they know the different IFRS standards. Even in audit, we've got different audit standards. Those audit standards are normally developed by us humans based on the trends within the world. Now, it's now after we've developed those audit standards that now we can, if, for example, we had an AI tool or a prediction model within finance, we are now able to update and say, for example, there's a new standard in the market, now have this knowledge, because basically these predictive analytics models is just knowledge we feed them so that they can be able to mimic our human mind. Then now they can be able to help us to make decision. So going forward, it's actually more of collaboration, but they'll never be, for example, entire replacement. Yes, Ken?
Yeah, so from the understanding is then, okay, the human mind is limited, as in you, when we talk about multitasking and etc. Now with the AI model, it reduces now that time and the capacity to handle large amounts of information, large amounts of data. That's what I'm getting. But now you cannot replace human mind with artificial intelligence.
Yes, you cannot be able to, you cannot be able to place. What will only happen is to be able to enhance that collaboration and make now AI tools better. As even we'll be able to see in a few, there will be professions or there will be some tasks that will be replaced by AI, but now that task of replacement will be spearheaded by humans. Daniel?
Yeah, I just wanted to like add something. It was like so AI won't exactly like replace the humans. It'll just be like there as like a helping hand. So it's kind of like automation of like tasks. So instead of you doing like let's say like the whole task, it'll like do like at least like the repetitive like parts of like the work, and then you will focus on like the more kind of like the delicate parts.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so the other thing actually going forward, even in developing this linguistic mind, even in the age of AI, is to be able to build that cross-disciplinary learning. So in that, for example, if you are interested in music, if you are in project management, if you are in healthcare, if you are in fashion, try to be able to see, for example, where can you be able to combine predictive analytics or even AI within this industry. It's now when you are able to learn, it's where you are able to actually learn, and so that you can be able to apply within, for example, your industry. And then also the other thing is that seek always to collaborate on projects that mix, for example, AI and even, for example, creativity. In each and every industry, even when you're in project management, you try to seek, for example, what is this repetitive task can I be able to automate? You find, for example, are there any active research within this field, and then in such a case, now you are able to collaborate on such projects, so that you bring not only your domain expertise but also your creativity. And then the other thing is that aspect of failure and iteration. Before even we had these tools, even for even people who actually develop and even deploy models, you even for those who've done research, you'll be able to realize that before even a model is even ready for production, it has gone through a lot of trial and error. I remember even in my research, one of the model, my first actually prediction model, I had around 45% accuracy, and what could only be accepted was at least, for example, 85%. So moving now from 45 to 85% would take time, would take more data, would take more research to be able to actually understand, and to be able to actually understand, for example, what else can I be able to do to be able to improve. So that's failure, and also the aspect of iteration. And then secondly, before just I get to Asia, review and analyze your creative process or lecture places. So sometimes even after you've given a task, don't be in a rush to, for example, Google that answer. Don't be in a rush, for example, just automate, or for example use AI to be able to do it. Just use your cognitive mind and actually analyze that before you, for example, you look for that solution. Ken, is your hand up? Okay. Aisha?
Yeah, so with regards to accepting failure and iteration, I know that a lot of these models require outcome data to sort of fine tune the models so that they are more predictive. Do you have an idea of, the acceptable like timeline across industries like financial services? Or is it just an issue of the more data, the better? Because we've had cases where people don't want to share outcome data, and it becomes a challenge.
Okay, so what normally happens is that first, it's not always actually the more data, the more, for example, the more accurate the model is. In AI also, even in predictive analytics, we normally have what we call optimal data. So within optimal data and also variables, within this approach is that for example, a model will be able to reach a certain accuracy at optimal data. So after now that data, it will not be able to increase its accuracy again, or if it even, for example, start reducing. Now, in terms of timeline and sharing, that is often relative. That's often relative, because even if I talk of my own experience, even in PhD research, I'm sure in PhD research, my training of my models and cleaning of my data and just moving my model from, for example, 45% to around 90% took for me at least 1 year. So at least 1 year. So in terms of timeline, it's always relative. First, based on the size of data, the knowledge and also capacity at stake, and the capacity and at stake, and also the resources. You'll find, for example, if you have a lot of resources, that's why you'll find in certain organizations, they've got a team of data scientists that are just dedicated for maybe one section of prediction. So be, for example, quicker. So in terms of time is more relative. You'll find even, for example, is a big operations like Amazon, like for example Microsoft, they will have a quick turnaround time based on the resources they have, and also based on the time they have, and also finances. So you'll find even for my case, it was also more of a learning curve. So you learn as you progress. So when you also have learning to do, time would tend to take longer. I hope your question is answered.
Yes,
now,
thank you.
The next, yeah. Yeah, good. The next thing now, we are even in developing this inquisitive mind is to be able to always nurture curiosity through just continuous learning. Just let's have that mind of a child to be able to ask, to be able to investigate. For example, why is this, for example, tool be able to perform this? And then even as an individual, just to be able to seek out, for example, challenging assignments, because it's through that you are able to actually learn. And then there's also another aspect with intelligence in research. So basically, but what we mean by this is just the collaboration between humans and also artificial intelligence. As we've said, we need both skills to be able to attain research excellence. And as we've said, AI is not intended to replace humans, but rather to complement or actually augment our capabilities. The second thing, human researchers, we are domain experts from project management, from finance, from project management, from finance, from marketing. We possess that domain expertise, the critical thinking ability, and also that creativity. That's what we bring to AI tools and even prediction. And then the other thing is that through various feedback, which, as I've said, like now in terms of models, failure and iteration, I moved from around 45 to around 85. How I was able to do that is to be able to do more feedback and more improvements to my model, so that now I can be able to better my prediction model. So AI also can be able to benefit from even your experience of providing that feedback. And then we've also said you can be able to automate repetitive and even time-consuming tasks, so that now where we need your high level of analysis or even interpretation or even decision making, you can be able to bring that the aspect of AI. And then we've also said embrace AI as a tool, not a threat. The other thing is that continuous learning and be able to adapt. The people who grew up in 60s, they did not have calculators. Now everyone now joining high school or even university, they are supposed to have calculators. Now computer is a necessity. So it's just having that continuous learning and also adaptation. In research now, and even in research now, we also have to be able to integrate AI in whatever we are doing. So where AI can be able to assist in terms of analysis, in terms of collecting data, let's be able to integrate AI into our analysis. Now, with all this, there's also the aspect of data governance and also the aspect of ethical consideration. The more a lot of data is produced, even within organizations, the more also even as individuals, we are supposed to factor in the aspect of ethics. So as an individual, even as a practitioner within the field, you should always ensure the responsible use and protection of sensitive data. So if you are the one, for example, the gathering data and even doing prediction model, so it means the data you are using, you have to be able to protect that data from leakage. And also, if, for example, for those who are even in prediction model production, make sure you actually try to address bias in training data, so that at the end of the day, because remember, AI is, for example, garbage in, garbage out. If you are able to feed in, for example, bias data, that's, for example, to discriminate against a certain nationality, a certain profession, or a certain race, that's what we'll be able to do. So as individuals, the aspect of ethics actually lies within us to be able to address biases in terms of training data. And then the other aspect is transparency in AI models. So if, for example, you are using, even for those who in research, for example, you are using human participants, even in your research, it's good to be transparent, to be able to even inform the individuals that you will be able to use your data, will be able to collect your data, but will be able to maintain the aspect of privacy and also anonymous. And then now we are saying also respect the privacy rights of individuals and also learn always to obtain proper consent. Even for those in Kenya with the new Data Protection Act, before even you collect any data, you are supposed to obtain proper consent from each and every individual before handling their data. So there are various challenges with AI. We've talked about the aspect of data quality and biasness. And the other aspect is actually job displacement and even transformation in the workforce. The other aspect is actually complexity. Some AI models are actually complex because, let's say for marketing, the people developing them are not actually domain marketers or domain experts. So even explaining them is often difficult. There is also the other aspect of ethics. The other aspect of also is reliability and what we call data poisoning. Data poisoning is that there are various models where, for example, some dirty data is even introduced into the process of training a model. So you'll be able to find that, let's say, for example, you are using an Excel data set. And then in one way or another, your Excel data set, some sections are compromised. So some sections are compromised. So that now, that's what we call data poisoning. So that now during your training and prediction, so you'll have a model, yes, that will perform well, but now a section of that model was trained with some data which is poisoned. So with that aspect, now you'll be able to realize that some of your predictions, some of your interpretation may be biased, may not actually have quality because some of the data you use have actually been poisoned. Then there is also the governance and also regulation. So there are a lot of countries now are actually embracing various regulatory controls just to be able to protect individuals from this grace of AI. And then we are now saying it's important to strike a balance between technological advancements and also ethical consideration, so that now we are able to enhance this potential of AI, but also mitigate risk and also be able to use it responsively. And then now, with all this now, how do we as an individual, even within your profession, how do you, for example, become relevant and actually less susceptible to being replaced by AI? So the first thing is just be able to stay updated and embrace continuous learning. So within your area, develop expertise so that if one day AI would need to replace finance or, for example, marketing, it is you who will complement the use of those tools. The other aspect is to be able to develop skills that are actually difficult to automate. For example, emotional intelligence, communication, creativity, complex problem solving. Because at the end of the day, AI can only be able to do what we are actually able to give them. So how do we make them better? By for example, in developing skills that are not human, that cannot be automated, but also still needed to be able to complement these tools. And then the other thing is the aspect of collaboration. Do not see AI as just a threat, but just as a tool to be able to actually complement some of your capabilities. And then the other aspect we actually stress both as a researcher and also as academician is to always be proactive in seeking training and development. You'll see some companies having various training programs just to be able to develop their staff. But even as an individual, always you should always be a step within your field. Be embracing training not only within your field but also cross industry, so that you can be able to see, for example, how are you able to equip your knowledge from what AI is doing and also what you can be able to do in your field. And then another thing is deepening, for example, your understanding within your field. It's only when you are really an expert within your field, that's when you are not able to worry about AI, because amateurs will be able to develop tools or for tools within your field, but being a domain expert, you'll have that advantage of actually reviewing them, of actually recommending them how to make them better, and actually even setting policies on even how to be able to use them within the field. And then the other thing we are saying is that be open to explore different roles on responsibility and responsibilities. So if, for example, you are in project management, even for example, for Moses, you also have to be prepared that in the next 3 years, you should not always be the one managing data engineers. You have to be able to find a way on how you can be able to complement your project management, your program management with AI, so that now next time the people who are coming to work under you, if, for example, there will be data engineers, but also who have been program managers before, what will you be able to do as a manager? So you have to be prepared for that, so that when that time comes, at least you'll be a step within your field. And then we are also saying that identify areas within your job where you can actually integrate, or, for example, to automate repetitive tasks. Even within marketing, even within finance, even within audit, you should be able to identify, for example, what are areas which can actually be, or which are repetitive, or, for example, which can actually be automated. And then now we are saying AI is designed to complement our capabilities, not to replace us. Also, it's through leveraging our unique skills, can you be able to not only secure and even get that job security along now, for example, AI technologies. So we are saying participate even where there are initiatives of even automation, even within your field or within your industry. Participate in such activities, in such initiatives, where even there are opportunities to be able to even teach within your field and even integrate AI. Participate in such initiatives. That's the only way we can be able to relevant. And then lastly, even after this session, the only way to be able to actually understand your field is to be able to teach. So in project management, teach project management with AI. In marketing, in audit, in analytics, in public governance, teach all that with AI. And then, according to Mark Van Doren, the art of teaching is the art of assisting discovery. Even the AI models we are talking about, it's us humans who are able to give them that knowledge so that they can be able to perform the way they are. So the art of teaching is the art of assisting discovery. It's only after we teach, it's only after you are able to disseminate that knowledge to another individual, is when now you can be able to assist in terms of discovery. Thank you for listening. I welcome your questions.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, sure.
This is Alex. That is the best presentation of AI on AI as a subject in the
Thank you, Alex.
I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Another question?
Dr. is not a question really, but it's a contribution to what you just said. I think some things have been so clear since you did this presentation. You made it very clear that AI will never replace us because one, we have the domain expertise.
Yeah.
AI will never think critically. We do. AI will not be as creative as we are. They can only mimic our creativity.
Exactly.
So the ball is on us. You mentioned very clearly again, Dr. is that how are you able, because this has been a question over and over, people ask, how are we going to be replaced? Are we at risk of losing our jobs because of the AI? You've answered this question today, and I believe that everyone who is here should be able to have that knowledge and even be good ambassadors to anyone who seeks doubt whether AI is coming to take off your job. If you do these things that you mentioned, I think Dr. has mentioned these things, then you are safe. Just to commit to what we call continuous learning. I mentioned last time, we also had this last week, is that people worry about AI coming after their jobs. And I said that it is not AI coming to take after a job. Someone else will do if you don't commit to continuous learning. You've mentioned some of the reasons or some of the actions we can take to ensure that we remain relevant and don't get threatened. Thank you for this, for sharing this information. I think this was so much insightful, and we appreciate what you've done already.
Asante sana, Mark, for that. So as an instructor, so Moses, I would like to hear your view now based on how threat, whether AI is actually threat to your profession. Is Moses around? Moses has left. Okay, so yeah, Nelly, maybe a takeaway from you, Nelly Jane.
Okay, so mine is just to thank you, even though I've not started to look for jobs, but you have given me an assurance that I'm not going to lack job because of AI. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Joyce Maina.
Yes, Mwalimu, thank you for that presentation. It also helped me get the assurance that it's going to assist me. It's not going to take away the opportunities that are out there for me. Thank you so much for the clarification.
Awesome. Betty, we would like to hear from you, even as still a student and also a teacher with this field. What are your takeaways? Betty Cheptanui.
Yes.
Yeah, what are your takeaways, and even in regards to your field?
At least I've known how to analyze the students' results of previous and know the way forward. Yeah.
Okay.
I know how I can handle my students' performance to be the best. Yes.
Awesome. Then lastly, Lucy Otieno. Yeah, I saw Lucy, or she's left. Okay. Yeah, Alex.
Yes, Mwalimu. Coming back to ethics, I do know that there was a meeting some 3 years ago, somewhere in the US, where top experts, the big tech, met to discuss ethics in AI, to make sure that as they develop AI models, that they are responsible. How far have we, how far are the leaders, big tech, here I'm referring to big tech, in that project?
Okay. Yeah, so the big tech has actually even improved, because even in terms of even data, even for example, presently in terms of data collection, they actually try to adhere to various rules and regulation. And what's also driving big tech is that most countries, for example, in Kenya now, we've got the Office of Data Practitioner, where if, for example, you are a data, you handle any form of data, you are able to, you are actually supposed to get even permission in terms of how you are able to publish this data, how you are able to handle this data. So in terms of progress, even in terms of countries, a lot is going on. But now what remains actually, which is even a space for even a governance expert like you, and even those even who intend to go this field, is to be able actually to actually pursue that aspect of data governance and also data protection, because a lot of people and a lot of people are able to produce a lot of data, but now at that aspect of, for example, governing that data, knowing, for example, what are the regulations saying, that is what is still missing. That will also take time, as actually a lot of data governance literacy has to be able to go on. I've seen in Kenya various webinars are actually done to be able just to sensitize people on the importance of responsible AI, and also the aspect of, for example, data protection. So data stem and now having a data literate society in terms of data protection and even data protection is what actually will be able. That's actually what will happen in the next 2 or 3 years.
Thank you.
Karibu. Yeah, so unless there's a last question, then I think I'll hand over the session to Mark.
Thank you.
Judith.
Okay.
Judith, I think Judith's hand is up.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't get to see all your presentation, but the little I saw, well, I appreciate it. But I have a question. Do you have something like a dump where you have all the data coming in that is dumped into, so that you can actually sieve it out with the AI, or it's just a question? Something I've always wondered about.
Okay, so now presently we don't have a dump. It's because the challenge is that each and every industry, what we now call big data, each and every industry is generating a lot of data at a higher speed, different formats, and also in mass amounts of volume. So basically we don't have a dump, but now as individual, for example, within marketing now, there are different, for example, data sets within marketing. Now, another challenge is that a few organizations are actually making their data, for example, public. So you'll find, for example, if, for example, you are MasterCard will also be able to generate their own data and use their own data for example, for analysis. So the other challenge is that organizations, yes, are generating a lot of data, but some of these data are not made, for example, public, which has actually hindered research for a while, because now it's when we are able to get a lot of data, what's happening in the industry is when we are able to actually tailor-made even solutions for the industry. There's progress in that, but the progress is still slow. So there's no data dump. It's just within the organizations. A few organizations are just able to make their data public. Even when you see, for example, social media, some social media platforms, you can actually not extract their data at all. If you need their data, you have to be able to go the process of buying the data, and even in buying, they also give you certain restrictions. So unfortunately, no data dump. It's just mostly within the organizations, and just a few organizations have actually be able to make their data public. But I'm sure as regulations improve, I'm sure going forward, a lot of data will be made public. Like, for example, IBM has actually made most of their data public, just to be, even Google, just to be able to enhance research. Okay, Mark.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mulsi, for that wonderful presentation. That was so informative. I appreciate you taking time sharing this information. I also want to appreciate everyone who got chance to be here. I know people came in, some of them already left because of a reason or so, and some are still here with us. I would want to hear from you. And then Musa just talked about data and collecting them and, putting them into use. And so that's exactly what we ask you to do, so that we get to know, we can reach out to you, get to know what is like. Initially, when we started, I asked everyone, what's their expectation? So even after this, we'd wish to get to hear from you, how the session was, what is your perspective, what do you want to gain, what is that you're thinking about in terms of AI and data analysis. And so I want to thank you so much for getting time to be here. Then I want to welcome Aisha, talk about our farm, SafeNet, which is the sponsor for this program. And so I welcome her. Aisha, can you hear me?
Yes. Thank you very much for the introduction. My name is Aisha. I support SafeNet in marketing and sales. And just at a high level, there's one word that kept coming up in this entire conversation, and the magic word is data. So all these things that we are discussing today, whether it's artificial intelligence, whether it's machine learning, and all the other various tools that are coming up, require data. So data, think of data as the fuel or the engine behind all these new innovations that are coming up. And with that demand, comes also the need to have human expertise in certain fields. And right now, it's no longer enough to just be a marketer or to be a project manager. The one with the extra skill over and above, your usual role will carry the job. And that's why at SafeNet, we really help or work with our fellow Africans. And the reason I say Africans is we are a global firm, but mostly focusing on Africans, looking at advancing their technology skills in various ways. And the gap that we are specifically looking to solve for right now is the skill that we call data analysis. And we believe that if we're able to empower our fellow Africans and even ourselves, as Mwalimu said, this is a continuous learning space, then we are able to create, a more inclusive environment where everyone is part of this change and no one is left behind, regardless of our educational backgrounds or where we come from. You will all agree that, what we are taught in school or what we learned, especially for the older generation, is almost becoming irrelevant in today's world. And therefore, there's a need to continuously sharpen our tools so that we're able to become relevant in today's world. So we welcome you all to join our data analysis training. Currently, we have about 30 students in the first cohort, but we do have other cohorts joining in. And the whole idea is to have sessions where we're able to learn, but also practical examples or case studies that are relevant to the workplace so that you can be able to apply those skills in your day-to-day activities. The sessions are usually very interactive and engaging, and we welcome you all to join us in this quest. For more information, feel free to reach out to OMA. You can also visit our website, our social media platforms, and we'll be ready and willing to discuss how you can become part of this great team. Thank you. Oma, over to you.
Thank you so much, Aisha. I want to appreciate also the trainers. Some of them are here. And so I want to give our class representative, Dr. Engineer Maina, Alex Maina, to say a vote of thanks. So we're doing this every Sunday. We have different topics. The trainings, the sessions are free. You can always come in same time, or we're going to let you know who is going to be our next moderator or speaker within the course of the week. So Alex, can you hear me?
Yes, I
How
can
about
hear
you?
you very well. Thank you. We would like to appreciate Dr. Japheth Mursi for a great presentation. It was thorough, and it was clear that if we had double the time, he still would have had more materials to give us. So I do believe that this is the beginning of our interaction. And personally, I will look for you, Mwalimu Daktari, our visiting speaker. I would like to also thank my colleagues for being available today. It's a Sunday. It's not easy to still be here now that we've been in class every day. So for them to come, we are very appreciative. For our guests, thank you. We appreciate all the guests. Many of the guests have changed status to join us and become students. Please, you are very welcome. This is a wonderful program where we can all learn together. And for our facilitators, I can see our facilitator, Bwana Ahmed, is here, and all the others that have worked with us. Eric, we had yesterday, up to yesterday, Lawrence. We greatly appreciate the inputs that you've given us, and not forgetting our CEO, Dr. Ouma. So thank you very much. We wish you a blessed day for those that are in Africa, and a blessed night for those that are in US. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much, Engineer Dr. Alex, for that wonderful vote of thanks. I want just anyone, maybe future students, someone who is not a current student and is here. If there's anyone who want to say just something for a minute, I can see. Let me see. I see Christine Okonjo. I see Judith Black. I see Paris, and of course I know Daniel Doll. He was here last time. He said something. Betty has already said something. So among the three, Judith, Christine, and Paris, could you get one person say something for a minute as a closing remarks?
Hello, good evening, everybody, and good morning, those who are in Kenya. My name is Christine Okonjo. I'm a registered health information technologist, that is IT in healthcare, and a student at SUNY, New York, pursuing health information and informatics. This is my first time joining the class, and I know that I'm going to benefit greatly, especially in data analytics. Thank you very much for this forum, and thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. I can imagine it must be too late in New York. Thank you for,
No, I'm in Seattle.
This time. You say
Sorry,
Seattle?
I'm in Seattle, but yeah, the school is in New York. Yep.
Oh, okay, Christine. Yeah, so there is Judith Black. Where are you calling from? Judith, can you hear me? Yeah, she's not hearing me. Paris?
Yes, Mark.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
Yeah, please say a word. We want to hear your voice.
Okay, I've listened to the whole session, and it's very informative. I would like to know much more about it, and I'm open in learning. And thank you for the session.
Thank you, Paris. So this will happen every Sunday. For more about AI, about machine learning, about big data, about data analytics, about ChatGPT, which is something we discussed last Sunday. Be available every Sunday. We are going to do this and spread the gospel. Thank you so much for joining.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, welcome. So Judith, if Judith can say something, if not, then I think unless somebody has anything that they want really badly to be given a chance to say, is there anyone who wants to say something just before we close?
Yes. If you have any areas of interest for the upcoming sessions, please write us an email on any areas or topics that you feel would really add value from an information point of view, and we'll include that in our subsequent sessions. Thank you.
Thank you. And so, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to end this meeting. Thank you for joining in. Hope to see you again next Sunday, or even from tomorrow. For those who are willing to join the class, get to us. Our line is there. You can always reach us on our phone number, your email, for more information. I hope to see you soon. Thank you, Dr. Mursi, and thank you for everyone for joining in. Thank you. Have a good day. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Asante, good night.
Good night.
Good day and good night. Bye.